Coming up this weekend at lightweight, the highs have been high for Viacheslav Borshchev. You know him as Slava Clause. And for Marc Diakiese, the highs have been highs, but also the lows have been incredibly low. And if you look at it for Diakiese in the UFC, he's riding a wave of momentum. Debuts at UFC 204, picks up a giant win over Łukasz Sajewski. Then he beats Frankie Perez. Then he beats Tamu Paklin in one of the most disgusting knockouts you're ever going to see.
It's beautiful, though.
And then he loses to Karol Close, Dan Hooker, Nazar Hakparast. He takes some time off. He fights Joe Duffy. He beats him in impressive fashion. He beats Groovy Lando Venata. He takes a bunch more time off. He has a fight of the night against Khizriev. It was a decent one. Most people thought he lost 30-27, but he mixed it up.
It's a good fight, though.
And then he fights Rafael Alves his last time out, and it was close until it wasn't, because really, it ends very quickly. But Diakiese was starting to figure things out. And then all of a sudden, Alves runs across the cage, hits him, flying knee, and then when Diakiese goes, well, you know what? I'm not just a striker. I'm not just the guy that came in with the flashy spin kicks and the elbows at the start of my career. I'm going to go for a double leg takedown. Alves goes, no, that's cute. Guillotine, and finishes him very, very quickly. So if you do look at it for Diakiese, I mean, really,
same thing happened to him against Dan Hooker.
We're 2-5 in the last 7 fights, but it really has been, again, highs are high, lows are low. Decent level of competition, we can really say that one. And when you're having fight of the nights against Khizriev, you must be doing something right. And for Borshchev, you look at it, I mean, this is a guy that just decided, hey, we're going to just take a pilgrimage to Team Alpha Male. We're going to go across the pond and just go there to train and end up in the States on a P1 visa and working at the gym and just hanging out with the guys and really having a good time. And for Borshchev, it really has worked out. I mean, the guy, again, you compare records, one's way better than the other. One's more experienced than the other. But if you look at it for Borshchev, I mean, 2-0 in boxing in 2019. He has 18 wins in kickboxing at 20 pro fights there. He is, and I want to make sure that I get this one right, a former K1 champ in 2010 and 2011. His kickboxing is so much damn fun to watch. Now, will he get caught sometimes and drop? Yeah, maybe. But against Kenley St. Louis, he comes back and he wins that fight. Does he get taken down in some of his fights? Yeah, he does. But mostly, he gets back up. I mean, he's 6-1 at this point. And in his UFC debut against Dakota Bush, 2 or 3 of those takedown attempts land. He was in some compromised positions. He gets right back up. My favorite shot. You want to see a great shot? When a guy sets up and just throws his right hand out there to the body to make Bush really go down and dirty to the one side, and then follows it up, rips to the body with the left hook. My favorite shot in all of MMA and boxing, maybe even all of combat sports. Borshchev, we learned in his last fight. I'm not ready to say he's the real deal. But he's like, that movie with Hugh Jackman, he's real steel. Robots fighting, real steel. Wow, that happened.
I had a friend whose birthday party was to that movie, and it was not a very good movie.
I went for a date and saw that movie.
That tells us more about you than I think anybody wanted to know.
Well, again, I was in high school.
You want to watch some robot boxing, babe? Ugh, no. Okay, for Slava Clause, he is an eye-catching talent, and both guys are. That's the weird thing I want to say about this fight. If you knew nothing about either guy coming into this fight, and you just showed, a new MMA fan, Slava Clause versus Marc Diakiese, it's probably going to be a sick fight. I don't think this is going to be a boring fight by any stretch of the imagination, because Diakiese can grapple, but here's the problem. He leaves his neck out way too much every time he goes for takedowns, to where if you have any level of offensive submissions with your, I should say, any level of defensive submissions, because a lot of times it is them defending his takedown with the submissions, he gets submitted that way. He doesn't have great submission defense. That is something that worries me against the upper echelon grapplers. Now, of course, Slava Clause isn't this good at striking because he's also this good at grappling. There is a give and take to MMA, and it's very hard to specialize in everything. But this is going to be a weird fight, because I don't think Diakiese's going to go for a takedown, but I actually think mentally that's going to help him unlock a lot of his own striking, because with Diakiese, he is so good on the outside, and he's a lot faster, too. I do think that's going to be a big key to this fight. Does Slava Clause hit harder than Marc Diakiese? Without a doubt. Probably hits twice as hard as he does. But Diakiese's speed with his straight shots is very deceiving. This is the weird thing, though, and I guess I really want your opinion on this. With Diakiese, he went from fighting Nazar Hakparast, a fight that was, at least going into it, it was okay. We have a couple prospects. They both had a loss. We'll see who's the better of the two. He got destroyed in that fight. Didn't look good at all. Gets dropped multiple times, and Nazar put a pace on him he just couldn't deal with. And then he turns around and looks as good as he ever does against Joe Duffy. How do you gauge where Marc Diakiese is going to be on a fight? Now, I know that's a hard question to ask, but I guess what version of Diakiese do you think we'll see this weekend?
So the Khizriev fight, and again, I talked about it, periods of inactivity. So Diakiese debuts, and I want to make sure I get this one right, in 2016 back at UFC 204. That was Bisping versus Henderson 2, a wild fight. And then he fights another time in 2016. He fights 3 times in 2017, once in 2018, twice in 2019, once in 2020, once in 2021. That was back in November, so it's not that long ago. But I expected a lot out of him against Rafael Alves. And this is the craziest thing. I think this answers the question, Matt. Marc Diakiese's only been an underdog in one fight in UFC.
Isn't that wild?
Do you know which one it was?
It was the Khizriev one. No, Nasrat Haqparast.
Nope. So 10 fights in the UFC. He was only an underdog against Joe Duffy. And the majority of the time, he's floating around 2-1 as a favorite. So that tells you all you need to know about him. He was favored to beat Khizriev. So much, though, that if you go back through the Fight Night Picks anthology, I said he was going to beat Rafael Khizriev. Rafael Khizriev, because it was Rafael Dos Anjos, Rafael Khizriev. See? Sometimes you make mistakes, you got to make up for them. But he was also favored to beat Alves. And if you look at it in that
Big
one...
favorite, wasn't he?
Roughly, yeah, minus 240. And again... in the first minute, he was looking pretty good. The first minute and a half, he was looking pretty good. And then all of a sudden, Alves did the old, you know what, I'm a wild man. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get this finish. So, again, against Borshchev, I do expect a little bit more of a patient approach from Diakiese. He trained before, and he's been all over the place, but mostly American top team. For this one, looks like it's Great Britain top team. But in Diakiese, even outside of the UFC, he was a Bama champ at lightweight. Whatever that means to you, it means to me. But a 36-second win over Kane Moose is one of those ones that just ages like a fine wine. So, again, I look at this fight for Borshchev. Great leg kicks, great counters on the way into. Like, guys will get kind of lulled. And again, he has that one against Bush where he goes, like, right hand to make him think and then throws the left hook. Against Chris Duncan, it's kind of the same thing, but it's up here, too. And he was beating the bejesus out of poor Chris Duncan, who... a lot of people might just think Chris Duncan, it's a jobber on Dana White's Contender Series. Chris Duncan's a really good fighter out of Scotland, had some good experience with Bellator and the regional scene over in Europe. So I look at this one, the odds on it, Diakiese open to plus 135. He's roughly a plus 150 right now. If you look at it for Slava Clause, open to minus 155. He is a minus 177 favorite right now. I'm going to say, Matt, over-under on Tapology. Surprise to us, they are to you. 70% Slava Clause.
Think they'll be under.
Think they're going to be under. They are over. 965 total votes for Borshchev. 81% for him, 75% by knockout for the 19% that have Diakiese, 59% by decision. So Matt, Borshchev, he's 6-1 in MMA. He could be a generational talent at lightweight.
I don't know about that.
We could be unlocking these doors and we don't know what's
Charles
behind.
Oliveira exists, so let's calm down.
This is like we're playing Resident Evil. Do we go with what could be behind door number 3 with...
have you ever played Resident Evil?
Slava Borshchev. I've watched people play Resident Evil. I've had,
Because you're making it sound like let's make a deal right now, and I can assure you it is not.
Let's make a deal. Slava Borshchev. But when I look at this one, I love what both these guys bring to the table, and we wouldn't have this as such a fun fight if they weren't so damn good.
Exactly. But this is what I've got to say. If Marc Diakiese was the fighter I thought he was, he would beat Slava Borshchev. I don't think he is that fighter, though, and that's why I have to pick Slava Clause. Marc Diakiese has been dropped a lot throughout his UFC career. He is a really good striker, but again, I go back to that Nasrat Haqparast fight. That was a bully beatdown against another primary striker who barely went for a takedown against him. Like, Nasrat truly did beat the brakes off Marc Diakiese. I highly recommend going back and watching that fight. He busted up his eye with a jab. He's way faster than him on his entries, and that's the thing. If you give Diakiese time to really set himself up, then he'll have a lot of success because of his speed and because of his reaction time. But if you expect him to just go in there and strike with a guy like Borshchev, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I really do think he's going to be eating a lot of damage early on in the fight, even though, and this is the last thing I'll say, Slava's the older guy in this matchup, and Diakiese has had many more fights in the UFC, but the issue is he hasn't looked good in too many of them for me to pick him.
Slava Clause, I watched him not that long ago in the past calendar year take on 3-3 Kenley St. Louis, get dropped in the first round. And I'm not, I don't mean like a stumble and a wobble. His face hit the canvas, popped back up.
Got head kicked by Jai Herbert, and we both had him to destroy him.
And then he came back and rallied in the second round and looked really good. I mean, Borshchev gets hit quite a bit, and listen, he is a hell of a striker. You wouldn't be at this point if you weren't. Again, do I go with the bill of goods that I was sold on Diakiese all the way up? I do, because he's fought the way better level of competition.
But you've seen him give up, though, and that's something I worry about.
I see him lose to Nasrat Hakparas, come back out, drop Joe Duffy, and beat him quite soundly, and then get another win. Have a fight against Fiziev, the top weight competitive in a fight of the night, not get dropped, and then against Alves get rocked, get hit by a crazy flying knee, and then get submitted. Again, is it too much too soon for Diakiese? I know that might sound odd, but considering the fact that he just fought in November and got finished that way, I don't think it is, and I like the complete skill set of Diakiese in this one against Borshchev. Although, again, Borshchev is one of the most, wild strikers we've seen here recently with the finishing ability to go with it, too.
I agree with everything you said. Diakiese definitely is the more well-rounded guy. I just don't think we're going to see those layers of his game. I think he's going to choose to strike with Borshchev, and I think that's a terrible idea for anybody to do in this division. Unless you're like a Brad Riddell or Fiziev, then okay, those are great fights, and I'm really excited about the potential of those in the future, but I do have Borshchev winning this one. This is a wild fight, though. Both guys could win by first-round knockout. Both guys could win by third-round knockout. This could be a great fight.
Big-time opportunity for both of these men at lightweight. Are you going with the underdog in Marc Diakiese? Are you going with Slava Borshchev? It is a big-time opportunity for both of us as well, because we have a big-time card coming up, and you got Chris Daukaus trying to challenge the man who's always up there at the top, knocking on the door, and Curtis Blaydes. You're going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say,
let's get into it.